Welcome to the Domain Name Wire podcast. I'm your host, Andrew Alleman, and this is episode number 577. Well, today I have two of my most popular guests back again. That's domain investors Mark Levine and Logan Flatt. Today, they'll share their domain investment results from 2025 in detail. You'll hear about their wins and misses, including Logan's record year. We'll break down where they are acquiring domains, what they are selling, and how they are pricing their domains. Of course, the winds can change in any moment, and while Mark will talk about how 2025 wasn't his greatest year, his 2026 is off to a great start. Logan's not so much, at least at the point we recorded this a few weeks ago. I really want to thank Mark and Logan for coming on the show. I think this is an extremely valuable episode for domain investors to improve their domain investing acumen. First, a word from our sponsor. Our sponsor this week is Namecheap, where you can make more online for less. Visit namecheap.com/market/AI to view their exclusive list of .ai domains currently on the market. Some names on auction this week include faithful.ai, 185.ai, and cryptoagent.ai. On Namecheap, you can pick up .ai domains starting at just $15 in the auctions, so you can own a piece of the AI revolution. There are many 3- and 4-character options available. Again, that URL is namecheap.com/market/AI, where you can see all the latest .ai auctions. All right, now let's run through some news from the domain business in the past week. First up, escrow.com released its Q3 and Q4 domain investment indexes, providing more color about the domain name aftermarket. After a somewhat slow Q2, domain transactions at escrow.com increased in Q3 and then again in Q4. The company handled a record $10.3 million worth of .ai domain sales in Q4. That made up more than 10% of total transaction dollar volume. ICANN 85 is taking place in Mumbai this week. Many people who planned to attend have switched to remote participation as the war in the Middle East hampers flights at major connections. One big topic that is sure to be discussed this week is new top-level domains as the application period opens next month. And speaking of new top-level domains, applicants might want to check out a new tool from Domain Insight called StringTell. StringTell uses the rules of the applicant guidebook and external domain registration data to identify both risks and opportunities for different top-level domains. For example, it identifies cases where a string will be rejected outright. For example, it could be blocked as a geographic name. That's the case with .eth, for example, ETH. It will also identify ones that are likely to be in contention sets based on proposed and already announced applications, or is at a high risk of string collision. Even well-funded applicants can make mistakes and submit applications for disallowed strings. Just ask Google. They submitted 3 applications in the 2012 round that they had to withdraw because they matched protected 3-letter country codes. On the opportunity side, it analyzes how many second-level domains containing the string are registered across 180 million already registered domain names and popular legacy TLDs. As an example, inputting service as a string will show you it has market potential but has several issues, including having been identified as posing a high risk of name collisions and likely being the singular form of the existing .services top-level domain. In this round, you can't have plurals and singulars of the same name. It's a free tool. It's available at domaininsight.com/stringtell. That's STRINGTEL. On the conferences front, D3 has announced its next Dominion conference will take place in Las Vegas from April 29th through 30th. The company's last Dominion event was at the beginning of 2025, and at that point, it was really just talking about things it was building. Now it has a functional platform for fractionalizing domain names. More info about that conference is at dominion.doma, that's DOMA.xyz. All right, there's more news at domainnamewire.com. Check that out. But now let's chat with Mark and Logan. My guests this week are Mark Levine of Domain Theory and Logan Flatt of Media Code. Gentlemen, welcome back to the show.
Good to be with you.
Yeah, great to be here.
So this is one of the most popular shows when both of you guys come on and talk about how you're doing with domain sales. We really get into the numbers, talk about tactics, talk about where you're selling, where you're buying, that sort of thing. And so why don't we start just Logan, super high level. How was 2024?
2025, you mean?
2025, yeah.
Compared to 2024, it was outstanding. I basically had triple the sales in 2025 over 2024. My goal for the year was $1 million in sales, and I just missed it. I just fell short of it. So I had a great year.
So you failed.
So I failed.
You fell short of your goal. Yeah. Okay.
So at a high level, it was awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Great. And Mark, how about you?
It was hard to watch Logan in 2020.
You can't, if you compare, see, that's where we get in trouble.
Yeah, no. It was, again, you have to, I guess, look at it all relative. It was okay-ish. I mean, my sales were down 15, 16%, something like that. I mean, I sold about one less domain a month, but it was all the ones that really excite you. It was, the .ggs I sold less, .ios I sold less. And those are the ones that, well, for me, get me excited to sit in front of the computer, and you.
The non-coms, some of these all.
So from a lifestyle perspective and income, it was okay. It's fine. But it wasn't, I was like, oh, I wish I was Logan a lot of times. In 2025.
Well, so we were emailing ahead of this recording, which we're recording at the end of February. It probably won't air for a couple weeks here, but and you guys were talking about how 2026 is off to a start, and it's funny how things can kind of change on a dime, right? Because Logan, not the best start to the year.
Yeah, super slow for me. The first 2 months, I've had just 4 sales, and they're small, and it's been a complete reversal from December, which was 6-figure month. So it's just weird.
And Mark, you're off to a good start here.
I am the new Logan Flatt.
Hopefully you guys can both be Logan Flatt by the time we, by the time December ends. So, but I think it goes to show that we were talking, Mark was talking about how, some days you feel like a genius, some months you feel like a genius. Sometimes you're like, what am I doing? And we were talking right before the show. I was feeling like, what am I doing? I've had 2 sales for $20K today, and I'm like, yes, go buy more names. You're on to something here. So
we have friends though right now who are killing it this year. I mean, their year has just been kicked off like crazy, and they're doing great.
And you tend to hear from the people that are killing it. So it's great. One of the reasons I love having you guys on the show is you're honest about how it's going. Sometimes it's great, sometimes it's not.
I mean, it's awesome right now. I feel like the old me.
All right. Well, let's break some of this down a little bit. So, Mark, in 2025 here, how many names did you sell overall?
78.
78. And you said that was down from 2024. What was your
92?
92. Okay. So 14 fewer sales in 2025. And then how about like median price of the domains you sold?
Well, the median price went up in 2025, but the sales that I lost out on, not lost out on is not the right word. Someone just didn't buy the names. Those were the big ticket. I sold in 2024, I sold 10 GGs. In 2025, I sold 3. Now, other people were selling GGs the whole year. It just
I know Logan had a
names, but this year now that's different. Same with IO. I sold half as many IOs as I sold in 24.
So I guess the point here is that median, of course, is a number at which half sell for more, half sell for less. You're saying your average was down quite a bit for the year.
Correct.
Didn't have those high end sales. And Logan, how about you? You talked about coming just shy of $1 million in sales. Talk to me about how many domains you sold.
Yeah, some actual sales volume was down 10%. So I had 50 sales in 2024, but only 45 in 2025. But that was countered by the sales prices. The median sales price more than doubled. The average sales price more than tripled. The higher prices helped, overcome the lower sales volume.
Did you increase or decrease the size of your portfolio, Logan?
I decreased it. I've been dropping, a lot of like two-word.ios and things like that I invested in previous years. And I just don't think the market supports them anymore. And
it doesn't help that it's like $60 or $50 to renew those now.
So the economics change as well. And, just always being critical of past purchases and really questioning whether I should renew or rebuy them, if you will. I'm always trying to average up in terms of my quality of names, and which is a subjective measure, but I like to drop the ones I think are lower quality and use that money to buy things I think are higher quality.
And Mark, you had, obviously you sold fewer domains, but did your portfolio shrink as well during the year?
It was almost like a net zero.
Okay.
Maybe 100 names more. I've also been doing what Logan's been doing. It's harder. The portfolio is a little bigger, so I'm trying to get better at, getting rid of stuff that goes nowhere. Like, there was a keyword that I loved, but I never sold one name. Just using AI and analyzing this, I was like, it's time to.
I hear you. I have a couple of those too, where I'm like, the buyers just haven't seen it yet, but this is the vertical, this is the keyword, and then you look at name bio, and you're like, no one's buying these. Right. Yeah.
Right. So, and that's important to do, and I'm going to keep doing that. So I would expect mine to shrink. I spent a lot less in buying. A lot less, like 80% less in 2025 outside of renewals.
No, okay. So you're talking about new acquisitions, GoDaddy closeouts, that sort of thing. Why did you dial that back?
For me, a lot of this is, I think the conventional wisdom would say you keep buying. But for me, a lot of it's mental in that I'm like, okay, well, maybe am I not buying the right stuff? And you being in your head, right now, I'm like, well, I'm obviously buying the right stuff in 2026, even though it was all bought when I, thought I was the worst domainer in the world. If I'm selling, I'm buying. I'm not afraid of auction prices. I'm just more aggressive in doing it. I was kind of like being like a batter in a slump. You're trying to figure out what's the slump from. And, for me, I wasn't feeling that it was going great, and I wasn't having those huge sales. So I just didn't. So
remind me, you have, I'm trying to remember, it was about 8,000 names?
About 8,000.
About 8,000.
I'm right there.
So your sell-through rate was about 1% last year, just more or less. 78 out of 8,000.
Again, you can make it's a nice living. It's not, I want to do better. So, it was just like, I just went back to what I know worked. Cheap closeouts, hand regs, just, stuff I know I can do well on with very little risk.
Logan, you had a couple spectacular sales last year. As you alluded to at the beginning, you had a few really big ones. Share some of those with us.
Well, the top sale was super.xyz, just about $290,000, just under that. Sold at Adam, thanks to Zach over there at Adam, Zach Gabor.
How long ago did you acquire that?
I got it. This sale happened exactly 5 years to the day I bought it. I hand registered it for $195.
So it was a premium.
It was a premium. I bought it at sab.com. The day I got the money wired was the same day that I bought it 5 years earlier.
All right. And so that was a premium listing on Adam, or?
Yes, that one was a premium listing. Yes.
Okay. All right. So that's a super sale. Congrats.
The opening offer was $250,000. So they came in pretty hot. I told Zach, take that offer, but I also try to see if you can get more. And he got.
Yeah. Well, yeah. If you take it right away too, you never know when they're going to be like, wait a minute, what am I doing?
Yeah. Then another big one was LoneStar.bet. That was $80,000. Buy it now at Afternick.
And when did you acquire that?
I can't remember right now, but
it was a hand reg, though, just like fairly recent, right?
It was less than 12 months, I believe.
Yeah. So here's the thing about that sale to me. So LoneStar.bet, $80,000. I would not have been able to get that much money for it because I would have priced it a lot lower. Yeah, Mark's nodding his head here too. So I wonder with y'all, like, do you set a few aspirational ones, and then on others you have more kind of your common kind of price range, or how do you guys think about that? What's your strategy there?
Well, in that one, I looked just now. I bought it in April 2024 for $7.98, and at Sav. And for me, I always tend to overprice. I think other investors might look at my portfolio and say, I got a lot of names overpriced. But to me, that has seemed to have worked. I mean, it's a bit of moonshotting. It's a bit of overpricing. It's just a strategy to set an anchor that is high I probably do lose a lot of sales I don't know about because of that. But also, I think a lot of sales happen at those prices because I price them that high. But also, if they come in making an offer through a GoDaddy broker or whatever, they're anchored high. So they got to make something that's pretty high. Just like with Super.xyz, they came in offering $250,000 because I had it priced at $300,000. So if I had something less, they would have come in less. So it's just a matter of doing what.
So how do you set those up technically? You have them with a buy now. Like which lander are you using? Like at Afternic?
In that case, for Super.xyz, it was a premium.
Well, that was at Adam.
Right. And they came in through the phone number or something. I don't know how they happened through. But otherwise, with Afternic, I just do buy it nows. Right now, I'm testing the price request for some of the higher names. Just doing a test right now. Nothing's going on much right now. So it may not be a very successful test, but I am testing. But otherwise, I just do buy nows. And if there's always a phone number there on the lander. So if they want to come in and make an offer, they can call the broker at GoDaddy, or I always have privacy turned off, so they can always reach out to me on who is. So they have options.
You had some other good .bet sales, right?
I did have, what did I have? I had
Tiger.bet.
A Tiger.bet for $40,000. That was back in January of last year. That one, though, I paid $3,500 for.
Oh, okay.
At SAB as well. But that was an auction. And I just, the Tiger SLD is huge, particularly in the Asian market. So as soon as I saw it dropping or what have you, I paid up for it.
Got it. And then we talked on the last show, we talked about humanityai.com for $70,000 approximately, which again, I've sold a lot of somethingai.com domains and I haven't priced any of them that high. So I haven't sold any of that high. You kind of set an upper limit, but it's, I guess it's a trade-off between somewhat consistency, as much consistency as we can get in this business, and having one of those home runs. So Mark, do you have any standout sales you're willing to share or?
Well, I mean, not following this guy.
Yeah.
Let's see. Hang on. This is 25. I had, let's see. Here are two good ones. I sold UFC.gg for $20,000. I sold Score, SKOR.io for $20,000 or, $19.90.
Yeah.
I sold FOMO.gg for $14,000. Those are like some of my better ones.
Okay. And Logan has a bunch of sales in there on GGs too that you had up to, looks like $35,000 for your top ones last year.
Yeah, the average GG was $21,000. So GG has really turned out to be a great 5-figure extension. I mean, just it seems like everything we sell is 5 figures there, and because I don't know, I think it's just a cool extension. I think people
has it moved on past like gaming and sports?
I think so.
Yeah,
so
too.
I mean, just ones that we've sold. When you see what they've become, very few are gaming.
Okay. As far as where you're selling, Logan, you mentioned the one at Adam, which was massive from a percentage of dollar sales, but the one sale there. Where are you selling your names in general?
Last year, I sold 80% of the names at Afternic. Afternic is still the main venue for me. Spaceship was about 9%. Sato is about 7%. Adam just had that one sale. And Dynadot, I had a sale. I had Auto.finance. I sold at Dynadot, about $45,000. So that was a great sale coming in from Dynadot.
So you listed that just on their marketplace?
Yeah. And that was one of the first ones I ever listed there. And just testing it out. Now I list everything at Dynadot. And just to get more reach.
Yeah. And are you setting prices on them or just
all
okay? I mean, it seems like a lot of work. And I know, you had some sales at Spaceship. I listed my names on Spaceship as well. In fact, just sold my first one today. But there's this upkeep then, right? If you have prices on these, you got to, as soon as you sell it someplace, you got to go to the other. If you change it at one place, you have to go change it at the other, all for, you said one sale on Dynadot last year, right? 3 on Cedo. So is it worth it?
What I'm doing different this year than I did last year is last year I didn't use the bulk spreadsheet updates. Now I'm doing bulk spreadsheet updates for Afternic, Spaceship, Sato, Adam, and Dynadot.
But the spreadsheets are all a little different too, right?
Well, it's super easy. You just cut a column and paste it.
Copy and paste.
And I always have the same format in the spreadsheet. So I just take out the data and put in the new data and then upload it. And it's super easy.
I've been playing with Lovable, which is one of those kind of coding tools. I bet within an hour you could create a tool that takes your master list and turns it into the CETO format, the Donna dot, the afternick, just like within seconds. So you're going through that and you think it's worth it, even though, you might get 1, 2, 3 sales in a year at those places.
Yeah, I guess one thing coming out of the ICA meeting that I picked up was just reach. Just afternick is still the king in terms of traffic and trust and everything else. But to the degree you can get your inventory out there across the different other platforms, you may be able to pick up some sales at lower commissions just by being there.
Mark, where are you selling?
Well, not 80% afternick. I'm just trying to think of what I sent you. 80%, I think it was about 80% was an afternick. Then I sold, maybe 10% at Adam, a few at CETO, and I think that was it last year. I just listed everything on Spaceship after ICA.
And then they raised the commission right after.
Right, like the minute I did it.
Just 10%.
Yeah, again, it's great if it happens. I'll take 10 over 15 or 25 or whatever.
Is Adam new for you? Because I know in the past you were saying you were...
I moved a bunch of names from another brandable marketplace to Adam, like the whole thing. And then for GGs, well, this is pre-Spaceship. Afternick cannot handle LTOs for GG. Dan did. So I took all the GGs and just used standard landers at Adam, and it's worked nicely. And if Spaceship was there when I had first done it, I might go and redo all those. And it's just, it's a lot of work, but it has worked. It has worked fine. And I have a number, I have some premiums at Adam and all these GGs, and they're good to deal with. They're responsive. They're a lot to deal with sometimes when you log in. There's a lot of things happening.
I recall that's what you're like. It's too confusing for me to get started. So, which I get. It's to their credit, they've done some things over the past year to simplify it, but it's a lot more going on than say Spaceship.
Yeah, I think it's you need people in the space innovating, or the bigger people are never going to innovate. So you need to, I feel like I want them to succeed. So you got to have names on there they don't need me to succeed, but
everyone adds up to something, right? Every sale matters. So let's talk about, Mark, you mentioned, I think you summarized up 2025 when we were chatting is if you live by the non-com, you die by the non-com. And so you've always had some big kind of non.com sales, but how was your breakdown this year?
In 25?
25, yeah.
Oh, I'm afraid to click over and lose. I don't know.
I'll read it out to you.
You tell me how it was.
So you had 60 com sales out of 78 sales. So it was mostly com, 7 IOs, 3 GGs, 2 XYZs, and then you had a bunch of other new TLDs, group, consulting, community, date, network, and a CC. So it was very, very heavy on the com.
Heavy on the com, but my comms are really, for the most part, I would call them inventory names.
Your pricing on those is more in the 3 to 6 kind of range. Okay.
My, the GGs and the IOs, and those are, that's what really carried me to a great 24 and starting out for a great 26. So without those, that's why I said you live by it and you die by it.
Logan, how about you on your sales mix here, com versus others?
Yeah, for 2025, I was 40% .com and 60% non.com, with the lion's share of that being GG and IO and .bet. My .coms are similar. I mean, nothing special to me. Our friends have much better quality .com names than we do. They're playing in a different field than we are. So, I got several 5-figure .com sales, but, the names are just okay stuff like myworkbench.com or Weed Society, nrtr.com, which was like Nurture with all the vowels taken out, was another good sale. insiderconnect.com. So just names like that to me are just basic inventory names that a lot of us have in our portfolio, and nothing too special. But the non.coms are the one word, .ggs and .bets and things like that, .co, that are really focusing on those one word. That SLD is the key thing.
Right. That's got to be a good one, right?
That'd be a good one. And that's where a lot of my heavy lifting came from, was these non.coms.
And you mentioned Sav auctions a couple of times, which they're really good at getting some of those non-com domains. Where else are you buying from?
My main purchase venue was Docky at 24% of.
Are you still buying a lot of names there? Or is
Definitely. Less so with Sav, because right now I'm having a hard time even doing back orders on Sav just to get them placed. But Docky's always been a good back order place for me. They've always been a good partner as well. And then Drop Catch, probably about 16% of the sales. And the rest are just spread over Catch.com, Dynadot, Namejet, Snap Names.
What do you use Catch for?
Catch I use for .fi names, some Nuji TLDs as well, but definitely .fi is where that's where I place my back orders for those.
Good. Mark, how about you? I know you've been a GoDaddy closeouts man. What else are you?
I mean, my sales last year, I think almost half were closeouts or hand registrations. And I mean, last year, just as an investor overall, was probably my least active year in really doing anything. So I, like Logan, when I'm active, I'm in those Docky auctions too. They're a great company, very responsive. They seem to be working around the clock, those guys. I haven't used Drop Catch as much. I do use Catch.com for, some non-com stuff. Park.io a little bit.
Did you say Hark.io? Park.
For some of those GGs or
Sure, yeah. And that was it's owned by Dynadot now, right? Yeah.
But just some of these auctions, they just get so out of control, like the .com auctions. Just even for pretty average stuff. And, the closeouts have I've done great with the closeouts. And
are you finding that harder to find good names lately in closeouts?
I feel like I'm doing better research on closeouts than I ever did. Before I'd just be like, whatever. But now I'm actually taking the time to see if it's worth it to buy. So I think that what I'm finding is better. And sometimes, usually I would just be like, I'm waiting till it hits $5. And now if there's something I want, I realize that there's really no difference between 30 and 5.
From the buy side, you're saying you may as well buy it at 30 rather than 5. Cool. So speaking of AI, something I've been talking to everyone I talk to on the show is, how do you think AI is going to impact domain names? And I'm not talking about like .ai domains, just, the rate at which AI is progressing. You read all these theories, these forecasts about what can happen. Some of it will happen, some of it won't. But what do you think this means for domain investing in particular?
Well, my logical brain says domains are going away because these bots don't require what the humans need, which is some identifier that helps identify the IP address in some handy way, which is what domain names are all about. Handles for humans. But so the bots don't need that at all. They can just go get the content at that location and use it and take advantage of it, whatever. So to me, I can see the logic behind domains going away, but the evidence we see in the marketplace is that people are still paying up a lot for domain names in 2026. Bot.ai being 1.2 million recently. So
AI.com last year, for 70 million.
So people, the end users are out there still gobbling these things up and paying up for them. I see how AI could basically ruin domains, if you will. If we outsource all our needs to AI to do the work for us, they don't need those domain names as identifiers. But end users are still paying up and buying up domain names.
And how average people use, the average person is a long way, in my opinion, from having agents do everything for them. And even knowing how to set that up, work it. I mean, I'm like the domain person in my world where people like want to buy a domain or think about, I'm the person they call. And most people, it doesn't even occur to them to type it into a search engine to see if it's available. I get to look up to see if this is available. So those kind of things give me hope that domains.
Yeah, it's interesting, because we talk about the typical person, we talk about the creating agents. I guess the idea that Logan's thinking about here is that will become easier. It'll be just like using Alexa or just like using Siri, that sort of thing. That you ask for something to happen. Hey, book me a trip on the cheapest fare to Minnesota. And, it just kind of goes out and does it. So you're not like choosing between Expedia or your favorite airline, that sort of thing. You might not be going to it. I had this thought, gosh, even well before AI became popular, but kind of Alexa was there. I called it the anticipatory web, where instead of you going to search, it's like your assistant would, realize, oh, it's, so-and-so's birthday. Do you want me to send them flowers? Something like that. And then you're like, yes. And then it would just go through, right? So that takes some of the action you do on the web out. So, I see both sides of this, right? So it's kind of interesting to look at this. One area it's definitely changing is coding, right? It sure is a lot easier for even people like me who don't code to code now, or to create stuff that uses code. We're definitely seeing that. GoDaddy's earnings call recently, they said the majority of their code is developed by AI. And now today, again, we're recording this end of February, Todd Hahn from Dynadot was writing about how the code is written by AI, and now their engineers are basically creating these little bits, right? These little parts of the code, and then reviewing it and putting it in, that sort of thing. So some things change rapidly. Other things, maybe not so much. There was a viral newsletter post. I don't know if you guys saw this recently, talking about, it was written as if it was 2028. And it was talking about all these companies and what had happened to them through AI. And the people that wrote that said, some of this will probably happen. Some of it definitely won't. Right. And so it's just, I guess you got to keep an open mind on this as you think about it. Right.
Yeah. Kind of bringing it back around to our 2025 sales. I was just shocked that I only had one .ai sale the whole year.
How many AIs do you own?
I probably have 300 now.
Wow. And only one sale.
Only one sale last year. And I was buying, that's because I was buying up .ais all last year because I could see what was going on in the marketplace. But I only had one sales, construct.ai with a K, and it was about 50 grand. But otherwise, nothing.
Yeah, to be fair, they are selling. We do see .ai domains selling, but yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see. They're up to 1 million domains. They grew by like 40% last year, and a lot of that's domain investors buying. A lot of that's Logan taking the money from super.xyz and putting it into .ai. So maybe it'll pay off here in the next year, but it'll be interesting to see. Let's see. Any other final thoughts here? I'm just kind of reviewing my notes and what you guys have. We've talked about where you're selling, how you're pricing, where you're buying. I think those are the things that most people find interesting. Anything else here before we wrap?
I would say the only thing I've kind of done differently recently is I'm starting to use DNX landers.
That's Josh Reason's platform.
Yes, for the extensions that GoDaddy doesn't support, like .ae, Fi. I like it because I can finish the transaction there, but also it offers up the opportunity to push them to Sato or to Afternic or escrow.com or Atom. They've kind of got all the platforms integrated. So the customer or the end user has the opportunity to choose which platform they want to use to buy at. And I kind of like the experience that's presented there on the landing page. And so testing it out right now to see.
Let me ask a follow-up on that, because that made me think about how you mentioned you sell at Sato, Afternic. At Afternic, if you're parking there, it's 15%. So you're probably paying 20% at Sato for your sales. Do you price accordingly? And Spaceship is less. Do you price according to, do you adjust your prices based on commission, or is that too sophisticated at this point?
I used to, and I have in the past, but in the end, I've come back around to say, this is the price, and it's up to the customer to choose where they want to buy it. Cause I want them to be comfortable with wherever they buy it.
Yeah. Okay. Any final thoughts from you, Mark? Other than this year's getting off better than last year?
Well, I mean, psychologically, it's big for me. I'd say the SLD, the great SLDs can sell in almost any extension. Sometimes you need some of those. That's not to say that I would, I do have a thing. If I sell a great SLD, I do go and see what's left register. Just, in the past that has worked. It doesn't always work, but it's a fun way to experiment with a great SLD for not a lot of money.
I did the same with Super. After I sold Super.xyz, I went and bought a bunch of other Super dots, including Super dot shop and things like that. And I wasn't, these weren't hand regs. These are ones I just went in the marketplaces and thought, well, that person's got it underpriced a little bit. I'll just buy it from them. Or if I can get it on an LTO, I'll get an LTO. And so
see what happens.
Everyone's been doing the same thing.
It's the kind of thing where you're like, well, before I tell everyone about this show, mosey on over here. And
no, that's a really good point, because the domain investment community, they'd be doing the same thing Logan talked about doing on Super after he sold it. So, well, guys, thanks as always for coming on the show. Like I said at the top, this is always one of our better, most appreciated shows, and I appreciate you guys for coming on here and disclosing so much about your domain investment activities. So, Mark Levine, Domain Theory, Logan Flatt, Media Code, thanks for coming on the show today.
Thanks.
That's a wrap on this week's Domain Name Wire podcast. You can listen to all previous episodes at dnw.com/podcast or on your favorite podcast app. Thanks for listening.